Today, we talk about the Atlassian stack.
This show is for everyone working at the coalface. Digital, business, marketing, social. This is At the Coalface with your host, Jason Greenwood.
Hello everybody, I'm Jason Greenwood. Welcome to episode 33 of At the Coalface. As you can see, it's pretty beautiful outside in New Zealand at the moment. We're just about ready to jump into spring here. It's been a beautiful spring day, sunny, clear, just beautiful, nice and warm. So I'm definitely looking forward to spring and summer. And I know that you guys in North America are heading into winter, so the end of summer there. So be going into fall and winter. So it's going to be really interesting to swap seasons with you guys, and hopefully you guys don't get too cold depending on where in the world you are located. But we're certainly enjoying the weather in New Zealand at the moment. Today I want to talk about a subject that should be pretty near and dear to, I guess, any digital person's heart. Certainly should be a subject that's familiar to many that work in this space or have had anything to do with this space at all. That is the Atlassian stack. And Atlassian is a set of SaaS-based technologies, a set of SaaS-based tools, software, that allows software development businesses or any business that's related to software development, and in fact, project management of any variety, to really use their tools to allow them to be efficient, to allow them to be functional, and to allow them to communicate with teams, both internal and external teams, to allow those functions in the business or within partners to work properly. So the main tools within the stack, so you basically sign up for a subscription. It's a web-based tool, as I said, a SaaS-based tool. And it includes primary components within the stack that you license on a monthly user level subscription basis, depending on the tools that you want that user to have access to. The primary tools within the stack are known as Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket. And just from a very high level perspective, just want to talk about really how a business or an agency would use these tools, or as they do use these tools. And the reason why I want to talk about them is because they are becoming, and rapidly so, becoming the de facto standard for software development houses, web development houses, and businesses of all shapes, sizes, and descriptions now to manage internal tickets, internal projects, and manage the internal process around that. And so really, they become the de facto standard just simply because they've got a better, smarter tool set. And so there are many very large, even governmental organizations today using Atlassian, all the way from NASA right through to medium-sized and smaller businesses that utilize Atlassian for their internal software development and project management requirements. And I've been using the Atlassian stack for probably about 4 years now. I've been using it both within the agency space as well as within the merchant space now here at HealthPost. Our development partner uses the Atlassian stack and then exposes that to us as the customer to help manage our tickets, our website development workflows, both in terms of BAU, which is business as usual, so the daily ticketing and issue management process, as well as the larger project management for larger scale projects. Our web development partner uses the Atlassian stack to interact with us. They don't use the full stack because they don't use one component of it, which I'll speak to in a minute, but they use Jira quite heavily. So I want to speak to the three main components of Atlassian, and there are it's an ever-growing stack of technologies, an ever-growing suite of technologies, if you want to look at it that way, or modules that you can subscribe to. And they also have an ecosystem. So Atlassian has an ecosystem. It's an extension or a modular-based ecosystem to whereby third-party companies can write software that plugs into the Atlassian stack and either pushes data into or pulls data out of the stack, either on an API basis, so basically making a web service call to the stack, putting data in or pushing data out based on an API key and being authenticated via API key to be able to do so. Alternatively, there are modules that you can install from within the Atlassian stack once you've logged in and authenticated as an admin user. If you are the admin user of that instance of the Atlassian stack, then you can search effectively a library of extensions to bulk up or add to the default functionality that comes in the platform. For agencies, there's an extension called Tempo, and what it does is it effectively ties a timer to each ticket that is raised within the platform, so that the service people who are providing services around that particular ticket can track their time against that ticket for then latter reconciliation and billing purposes onto the client, or even internally within businesses, so that they can manage their time internally and start to do reporting on their time and see and start to get a really clear picture of momentum and pace behind projects and tickets and different phases within tickets, so within an agile environment. So I want to just talk briefly about the three core components of the stack, what they do, and how they can benefit you if you're not already using the Atlassian stack, or if your partners that you work with, your development partners, your software house that you're working with, your web development partner, your digital partner, whatever, even if it's a marketing partner. Often digital agencies or marketing agencies now will use the Atlassian stack to manage workflows against their customer accounts and be able to expose that to them through a web interface so they can see exactly what's happening, so that they can interact and communicate with each other through that stack. So the three primary components are Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket. Jira is a straight out issue ticketing system. It has some unique functionality wrapped around it over and above what your normal bug tracking or ticketing system is or has, or what it can do. You can look at tickets in a whole bunch of different views. So you can look at them in the Japanese Kanban board style system, which is a series of cards that get moved between lanes of work or lanes of statuses of work, and you can drag and drop those via Ajax just in through the browser window to transition them between statuses of work. They also have the Agile board view, which allows you to organize tickets into specific Agile sprints and transition them between sprints, and then within sprints to be able to categorize or prioritize each ticket in terms of severity within that sprint. So you have two ways of classifying your tickets, two broad ways of classifying your tickets within those sprints. So that way you can manage your time better within those sprints, and then also in relation to each ticket within that sprint, and moving it to other sprints if necessary, if it's not as high of a priority. So at its core, Jira is a ticketing system. It's an issue or a bug tracking or a bug resolution system, but it's now being expanded to manage many other tasks within a project and be able to transition tasks between task owners. And only one person, one user, can own a task at a time. And that's really good, because then there's no argument about who should be working on a task or who should be responding to a task. And it's got a really tight integration with email, so that the person who set up the project, who has set up the task, the admin user of that particular project or that particular account, can then set up the rules around notifications to other users who have been assigned or are viewing that particular task. And so I manage basically all of my Jira interaction via email. And so I'll get a notification when a ticket that I'm either watching, I created, or have been assigned to. Basically, I'll get an email automatically when that ticket has been updated in any way, shape, or form. So whether the title of it's been changed, whether the epic's been assigned to has been changed, whether the status or priority level has been changed, whether a comment has been made on that ticket, whether a file has been attached to that ticket, such as a screenshot or a CSV file, for example, I'll get an automatic email notification based on that update, and then I can then look at that update in my email list, and I can see a snapshot of that update, and then I can click within that email. There'll be a link to that ticket directly, and it'll open up in the browser directly at that ticket, so that I can then take further action if it's required. Now, one way to manage the one, I guess, drawback of Jira in some respects is that you can, if you're especially engaged in a very large project and you're involved in a large amount of tickets, either as an administrator or simply because you're the merchant side representative of Jira, and you're managing those tickets on behalf of the merchant or the business that's being serviced by an external entity, you will get hammered with email. And so what I've found to be very, very valuable is that if there's been 3 or 4 updates made to a ticket, I only need to look at the most recent one that's come into my inbox. I need to find out where that is. I'll open up the ticket, see the thread history, and then I can know exactly what's going on. Then I can go back to my email. I can do a search for that ticket number, and I can basically delete in one big block all of the emails that have come in prior to that most recent email, and that kind of helps me manage my workload around email and Jira. So Jira allows you to transition those tickets between statuses and between workflows, and it allows you to manage things like version control. It allows you to manage things like whether a piece of code has been deployed to staging or a testing environment versus a production environment. And allows you to sign, as I said, allows you to sign it to certain people. So in particular in our business, because we're serviced by an external agency that uses Jira, and I'm a user, not an admin, but I have certain admin capabilities assigned to my particular user role, not full admin user, but sort of a quasi-admin user that I can do certain things that a basic user wouldn't be able to do. So what we will typically do is we will go in and we will create a ticket for a piece of work, and we have a very long backlog of work. So as an issue comes up, the first thing we'll do is we'll create that ticket. So we'll create the title, we'll create the description, we'll upload any screenshots that are relevant to that particular ticket, and then we will not assign it to anyone. We'll not assign it to our project manager or our development partner. We'll immediately put it in the backlog, and then what we will do is we will slowly work our way through that backlog over time. We'll prioritize those tickets by sprint. So we run 2 weekly sprints with our development partner, which sprints are simply a period of work before you're going to do typically a deployment. We have weekly standardized deployment dates unless we need to deploy something exceptionally in an emergency. So we will typically work over a period of 2 weeks, but every week we may have some completed tickets that have been completed in that sprint window of 2 weeks and will be deployed on that standardized day once per week, which for us is a Wednesday. It just happens to work well with our timing, but businesses will deploy at different times. You can run a continuous deployment scenario with Jira and with some of its other components, which I'll talk about shortly, but we choose not to. We have a standardized deployment day, so we know when things are going to be going out into production, and then we can test those from there in the production environment to make sure they behave exactly like they do in our test and staging environments. So Jira allows you to do all those things. I won't go too much more into that because I could spend hours talking about Jira, but basically it allows you to manage the process of ticketing issues that need to be worked on by various members of your organization or third-party organizations right through to a resolution status to make sure that they have been actually resolved or completed as tasks. So you can create different types of tickets. So it might be a task, it might be a bug, it might be a piece of scoping work that needs to be done, all various different types, and it's all fully configurable. That's the beauty of the Atlassian stack, is they are infinitely configurable in the way that the ticketing system works and the way that the rest of the components in the stack work in terms of the workflows, in terms of the statuses, in terms of severity levels, in terms of all sorts of other things are highly configurable. And you can also create teams that are assigned to certain types of tickets, so they automatically get assigned to the team lead. You can track time through Jira, so it is an amazing piece of technology that will allow streamlined workflows for pieces of work associated with a project or associated with kind of a help desk ticketing type of a scenario. The next piece in the stack that I'll talk about is Confluence. Now, Confluence is effectively an internal wiki, like a Wikipedia type of platform. It's effectively like a website, if you will, but it's all within the Atlassian stack. They host it, and it allows you to create documentation. It's got its own documentation system that you can go in and edit pages. It's got its own granular access control and permission system, so you can granularly give access to those pages to groups of people or individuals within your organization or within third-party organizations. When you go and create those documents, there's hierarchy control and navigation system so that you can nest documents underneath other documents. You can upload comments against those documents, and you can notify the people that are assigned to those documents when they receive comments. You can upload attachments to documents within the system. So it's almost a combination between a document handling system and a website that is available through a web browser. So all of the pages or documents that you create within Confluence are then available through the web browser to whoever you allow them to be accessible to, globally accessible or just internally accessible. So The beauty of this is that there's a very tight integration between every component in the Atlassian stack. So Confluence is tied in with Jira, which is tied in with Bitbucket and other workflows and other components in the stack, but those are the three main components in the stack. So very, very good if you're trying to write a scope document that's associated with a specific Jira ticket or a specific Jira project, then it allows you to link those two together, and it embeds links. Confluence can embed Jira links within it, and vice versa, allowing to have that really, really tight, seamless integration between those two components within the stack. So a very, very useful piece of technology, and once again, it's on a module and user level subscription basis. Very, very cost effective. I think the average cost is about $5 per user per module, so it works out to be a very cost-effective tool in terms of per month cost and managing your costs in that way. The final component that I'll talk about is Bitbucket. Now, Bitbucket is really a version control or a code repository system for version control within software projects. And so when most software development houses will use a version control system called Git, possibly Subversion, and you need a repository, whether it be an internal repository, an external repository of that version controlled code, all the various iterations of that code, so that and the different main trunks and branches of that various different code of your software, so that should it ever be necessary to roll back to a previous version, a previous implemented version, let's say a bug slips through and makes it into production, you need to roll back, then you need to keep a version control history and all of the associated code with that version control history. You need to have that housed and hosted somewhere. And so Bitbucket allows you to do that, and it will actually manage all of the branches in the versioning. For example, within Git, you can house all of your Git repositories, code repositories within Bitbucket, and then make those globally accessible to whoever you choose to make it accessible to via the Bitbucket system. Now, you can obviously see how this ties in with all of the documentation you need around your development and your scoping and all the workflows, and then tying it back to actual implementation tickets and pieces of development and discussions around those pieces of development as you move along. So as you can see, those three components tie together really neatly with one another, specifically around the area of software and website development. And as I said, people have found weird and wonderful uses of the Atlassian stack. I know people that have planned their Christmas dinner with their family or their Christmas day with their family, using Jira tickets that are assigned to different people in the family that they have to follow, and you can follow the timings, the scheduling of those tickets right through to manage a family event. So really flexible and robust stack. It is becoming the de facto standard in both digital/software development/digital marketing, and in many other scenarios. I don't know if it's made its way into civil construction, for example, project management or anything like that, but certainly it's got broad application. It is the de facto standard. I've used it for a long time. It's a fantastic piece of technology. It really makes things very streamlined and efficient. You know exactly where a ticket sits, who it's assigned to, who needs to take the next action, and it really brings momentum and pace to your development process, and really brings a structure to it that is very difficult to inject into that process in any other way. So it supports many of the different project management methodologies, both agile and waterfall. It supports a lot of different both project management methodologies as well as software development methodologies as well. So it really is kind of an all things to all people stack of technology, very cost effective, and I would encourage you to get familiar with the Atlassian stack if you aren't already, because chances are, even if you're not using it today, you will be definitely using it at some point in your career. So it definitely would be worth spending a bit of time in YouTube, spending a bit of time, take out a trial version. They offer a free trial version of their software. So sign up, start clicking around, see how you can possibly use it to bring efficiency to your organization, or possibly even introduce it into the partners that you work with if they're not using it already, or at least suggest that they start using it to bring some efficiency to the work that they're doing for you. If you've got experience with the Atlassian stack, please let me know about it. Love to hear your thoughts, love to hear your experiences, love to hear anything I may have missed out in terms of key areas to cover off around the subject, and love to hear from you. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks a lot.